What a huge win by the Clippers. Definitely much needed. Can they build all this momentum going forward? Let's talk about it. You want to know what's so crazy? The Clippers really got their biggest win of the season, and it came on a night where they were playing a Memphis Grizzlies team that was shorthanded of 3 or 4 starters that usually help them win a lot of games. Of course, with the services of John Moran, who is their superstar, was not there due to some legal situations going on with the gun charge and everything. Hopefully all that comes to, cease for him, and hopefully everything works out for that and everything. Don't know all the story on it, but I mean, hey, hopefully things work out for him there. But either way, the Clippers found themselves in getting a victory. And I can tell you, this is one of those games where it was really, two teams threw a haymaker in the second half, and the Clippers threw the final haymaker to really win the game. I mean, first of all, shout out to Paul George. He played really good. Kawhi Leonard played great as well. Just as a team overall, when their back was against the wall, they found a way to come through with a victory. And, Russ played, fairly well also. He didn't turn the ball over much. He had he had some plays where I scratched my head, of course, but you're not going to go through any game watching, Russell Westbrook where you don't scratch your head on some plays. But for the most part, the Clippers really utilized, the motivation from that they got from Ty Lue and themselves, on the floor by what they saw being down by 15 points against a team that didn't have none of their true starters, for the most part. And the Clippers were supposed to win this game, and they did, and they found a way to get it, and that's all that matters. But, like I said, shout out to Paul George. He had 42 big points. I mean, he had like 30 points like entering the third quarter. I mean, he was like really hooping, not gonna lie. Paul George was playing good. And that last possession, where he went up for that rebound after I think Russ missed, and he, just showed tenacity, fight, and effort. And that's what you should see out of Paul George more often. Plays like that can help your team win championships. Plays like that can put your team over the hump. This is the type of Paul George that's the type of Paul George the Clippers should be getting on a nightly basis. And you don't have to score 42 points. He's not going to score 42 points every night. But, given that type of effort, that type of, energy on on both ends, and really, playing to his max ability is what we should be getting. And Kawhi, definitely, it's another day at the office for Kawhi. Kawhi started out slow. He didn't really play, dominant as he usually does, from the beginning of the first 2 or 3 quarters. But, in that second half, he really, kind of got it going a little bit more. In that fourth quarter, I felt like Kawhi really started to take over that game. And I feel like he took over because once he put it in his mind, and once they said on, if you're watching the game, once they said that Kawhi is going to guard Tyus Jones, which Tyus Jones had scored he had hit like 5 or 6 3-pointers. Because first of all, the Clippers gave up a 51-point third quarter. That can't happen. You are predicated on defense. You can't, let that happen with all the wing players and defense that you have as a unit. You have to just, be more aware and be more attentive of everything that's going on the floor. And they can't allow things like that because there's so much of a better team than that. If you look at their roster from top to bottom, they got guys who can really defend, So when they're engaged, it just shows how good the Clippers can be, but it shouldn't have to take a panic meter like that for them to get engaged. But either way, it doesn't matter. A win is a win. But, I thought Kawhi, his 15 points in the fourth quarter it really sealed the game to me, because even though, as I said, Paul George had that big rebound after Russell Westbrook had missed, he Paul George had that putback, which was huge because the momentum was starting to swing back to Memphis because Luke Kennard, good old Luke Kennard, he hits a three like at near the end of the game that really made it. I think it was like a 2-point game. I believe it made it. And, the momentum was swinging back to Memphis. And, Paul George, that rebound Paul George got was huge. But if it wasn't for, both of the Kawhi and PG putting their imprint on this game the way they did in that second half on both ends of the floor, especially Kawhi Leonard, because like I said, when he guarded Tyus Jones, it's almost like psychologically Tyus Jones was out of that game because Kawhi Leonard put the clamps down on him for a little bit and let him know, I'm the claw. I'm the best player on the floor. And really, it's not even close because I can control both ends of the floor. And I'm now Tyus Jones, all the scoring that he was doing in the second half in that third quarter, all that came to a cease. And then Kawhi, slid over, defensively on some of his rotations on defense. He got a couple steals. He intercepted one pass and then he brought it down. He had 10 rebounds himself. Both him and PG. PG had 42 and 10. Kawhi had 34 and 10. It was just a great effort by two star players. And like I said, with Kawhi having that 15 points in that fourth quarter, I felt like that really took the game over right there. And I feel like Kawhi turned into Michael Jordan for a minute to let everybody know, like, this is what we're going to get in the playoffs. This is what you're going to see when the time comes where I need to be who I need to be. I'm still him. And I felt like Kawhi let us know that. Kawhi started off slow and everything, but that's the thing about Kawhi and that's the thing about great players. They find a way to come through when you need them the most. And I thought that 15-point fourth quarter was huge, and I thought it really helped the Clippers win because Paul George was scoring a lot of points, and he was cooking, but the Clippers were still down. Paul George had like 30-plus points in the third quarter, and they were still down by like 14, 15 points. So it's not like they were, had the lead or anything. So it's like, when Kawhi really took over and, start, playing both ends of the floor the way he did, and then especially his offense, when that started going, I thought that really took over the game. And really, to me, the momentum swing of that game for the Clippers in that fourth quarter was when Kawhi went on the fast break and got that dunk that he got, in transition. I think that really, Steve Ballmer was ecstatic, of course, but the whole crowd, everybody just really, it's like a different energy came over that team. And you knew after that, when Kawhi went coast to coast like that, I just knew they were going to win, but as I said before, shout out to Memphis. They play very good. They play very, very, very inspiring basketball for their team and their chances of being a tough out in the playoffs because they just definitely are. They got a lot of pieces, and that Luke Kennard, that Luke Kennard pickup, definitely scares me with them because you're adding one of the top 3-point shooters to a team. Like when they got Ja Morant and everybody, they're definitely going to be a tough out. So shout out to them, but also shout out to the Clippers. Also, shout out Ty Lue. I'm going to give him some credit, even though I've been, busting his balls lately. But at the same time, he did, He did make some adjustment. He did make an adjustment. I did like, the way he switched that lineup in the fourth quarter. They went small, but they went small ball. But even though they still had more athleticism, they had more guys that can guard some of those, some of those guards that Memphis had. And I feel like it put them in a situation that the Memphis couldn't handle. And like I said, when the claw was on Tyus Jones was done. I wasn't even worried about Tyus Jones anymore because Tyus Jones when you got somebody like that on you, the psyche is a lot different. Kawhi's good defensively. Kawhi knows when to do certain things and make certain things happen. And like I said, Kawhi start really dominating both ends, switching on defense, intercepting passes, getting extra rebounds. He like I said, he ended up snagging 10 rebounds and, he really got it cooking in that fourth quarter and gave them that 6-point lead. I knew the Clippers were going to win from there. I felt it, I felt good about their chances then. And like I said, Paul George did his thing. It was a great thing to see. And Russ didn't, hurt the team at all. Russ made one big, it was like an and one layup he made and got the crowd hype. I thought that was huge. He got that at the right time. The momentum that the Clippers needed, to keep the run going and keep the momentum going. I thought it was just an all around good team effort. Marcus Morris came in and knocked down some, big shots. He hit a couple back to back shots. I thought they got their offense kind of going a little bit. And then then when Kawhi and, PG, really they just started to take over the game really in the fourth and the second half, if you want to be technical. But I thought it was a really definitely a big win for the Clippers. They didn't want to go 0-6. They had lost 5 in a row. They definitely end that now. Hopefully they can build off this, like Kawhi and PG said in their post game, and use this motivation and keep going. Because as I said, this team, I'm not sure about them just because they got Russell Westbrook, and a lot of bad things can happen with Russ. But, if there was a hypothetical out there somewhere, if they found a way to get this team right, and keep Russ, contained, which is going to be very tough to do because no team has been able to do it yet with no superstar. But if you can keep Russ contained, with less turnovers and keep the ball in Kawhi's hands and in PG's hands, in big moments down the stretch, especially Kawhi's, because Kawhi knows how to go out there and show you what he did last night. Go out there and put the nail in the coffin, along with PG, and both of them could really, put this team on their back and go to another level. So I like what I saw from them. I just don't like the fact the Clippers had to work so hard, really. I like the fact they fought. I like the fact that they showed that resilience, but the Clippers got to be a lot better. You can't give up 51-point third quarters, even though they did follow up by giving a less than 20-point fourth quarter to the Memphis Grizzlies, I believe. But at the same time, this is a Grizzlies team that was down 4 starters. One of their stars was a superstar, and you found yourself in a dogfight where you were down 14. And it took a Herculean effort from Kawhi and PG and the rest of the crew to really collectively try to get this win, which was a good thing because I feel like it builds continuity, it builds character in this team, and it builds that trust factor they're going to need to have if they plan on going deep in the playoffs. But definitely, the Clippers got to get better. They got to learn from this. And Ty Lue said it, Ty Lue definitely, they need to be more, sense of urgency, and definitely play with more of the fighter mentality. And like I said, I like what Ty Lue did with that lineup at that point in time because he put the right lineup in, when he basically went small with all the wings and stuff he had on the floor. And like I said, they really just took it to Memphis because Memphis couldn't deal with the Clippers' length and their ability to defend on the other end when they really started, clicking. And like I said, when Marcus Morris is engaged, I feel like that definitely helps. That definitely makes the Clippers more dangerous when Marcus Morris is engaged too, because he seems to make big shots, knock down shots when you need him to, when he is engaged, which is not often, but we definitely need more consistency out of him because when he plays well, the Clippers usually win. It's kind of psychologically crazy, but when Marcus Morris plays well, the Clippers find themselves on the winning end of situations. So that was big for Marcus Morris the minutes he came in. I like what he provided. Plumlee and them provided some good minutes, of course. Eric Gordon definitely knocked down a couple big shots, provided some good minutes, And like I said, as long as the Clippers don't turn the ball over and don't beat themselves, they got a chance to beat anybody in this league. I don't care what team it is or how deep they are, because the Clippers are deep too. They just don't need to beat themselves and take possessions away from themselves. And definitely, be alert on the defensive end. If they play that way, sky's limit for this team. But they just got to consistently play that way. And, see what happens. But like I said, definitely a win is a win. You take it. Any win is great. Any win is good. No win is bad, really, because, like I said, you win. So, it's definitely needed and warranted for the Clippers. But hopefully they build from this and keep going forward. The schedule's only going to get tougher. But at the same time, they need to get tougher, too, mentally. And that's what Ty Lue was saying. I thought, that he really challenged his guys to, play with more mental toughness. And I thought that was great by Ty Lue to even, challenge them that way and say those things and push them in that type way, because he know that's all it is. You got to be more mentally tough. You can't give up these 30, 50-point quarters, 50-point quarters and expect to come back and beat teams. No, you don't turn the switch on and off. You got to keep that switch on the whole time if you want to be one of the best teams in this league. So the Clippers definitely found themselves in a situation, but they also found themselves out of it by getting a win. It was collective from everybody on the court. I thought they played really well, in that second half when they really needed to, that sense of urgency, especially in that fourth quarter when we saw, PG and Kawhi just go out there and put the team on their back and, hey, this is our season here. And I felt like, when I looked at, Kawhi and PG, I felt like what was in their eyes, like when I watched them out there, especially in that fourth quarter, they played like their season was on the line. And really, I felt like it was. So Shout out to them for that. Hopefully they can move on with more of a spirit in regards to getting things done as far as getting more wins and keep things going, keep this momentum going and build with Russ as much as they can because Russ is on the team. He's part of the team now. So, you got to build with him and they got to build back and forth and they got to feed off of one another because technically they do have a big three. Whether I want to look at it that way or not, they technically do have a big three. So the fact that you have that, you got to find a way to win, you know what I'm saying? And that's what it comes down to. And they found a way. Shout out to them. But hopefully they make it a little easier for themselves going forward instead of, making it so dramatic. But definitely a good win and good for their confidence. And hopefully they can move forward with it.